Hello, this is a video for all my guitar buddies. We're going to be looking at some strumming, some very basic techniques to get you off and running. And you might have got the first few chords under your belt, like G, C, D, A, D, E, maybe a couple of minors, A minor, E minor, under your belt, and you're trying to string them together to make songs with them, or even learning some songs and trying to get the strumming to sound either musical or more interesting than just the down strums. So we're going to look at that, and we'll also look at the technique of using the pick as well. So to start with, we'll look at the basic strumming pattern that you're going to learn when you first start playing your chords, which is the down strum. And you're going to learn to do this to the 4 beats in the bar. So if you look at the sheet, you've got a goalpost symbol here, which is a downstroke. So this little symbol here that I'm circling is the downstroke symbol. Then you've got our count 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have nice even 4 beats, and this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And the idea will be to keep that nice and even. And if you haven't got that used to that so far with a chord, obviously practice doing that, and then trying to change to the next chord, but keep the 4 going. So we've got our 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to change to a C. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's no gaps, no pauses. So you're not doing 4 beats and then you're changing and then you're starting. You want to keep the even, consistent strum constant, and the changing has to occur between those strums. So that would be the first thing to work on. If you've got that and you feel fairly confident that you've got those and you want to go to the next level, then we'll do some upstrokes. But before we go there, we'll just talk about what to use. So for the pick, I like using a pick if I'm doing a lot of strumming, because it amplifies the sound as opposed to the fingers, especially the thumb. And also I get a kind of a muffledy sound, and it's quite nice if you're playing electric guitar using the thumb, if you want to use like a dampening kind of effect to make it sound a bit warmer. But I find with the acoustic guitar, we want to really kind of amplify the sound, and it gives me a nice even sound on the downs and the ups, which is going to be the most important thing here. Because when I play a down and an up, and I use my nails on my finger, you've got some flesh and then you've got some nails, especially if I turn the wrist, you can see there's kind of an uneven sound with the nails hitting the string and the flesh of the thumbs hitting the string. You can use the side of the fingers if you're using the side fingers, and that works okay. That's kind of a nice way. I like sometimes playing that way on a nylon strung guitar as well. But you can tell with a steel string, especially if you're steel string acoustic and you're playing like pop, mainly pop and folk styles or country styles, then a pick is a really good way to go for just strumming techniques rather than using the fingering techniques. So I'm going to use this throughout this video just to demonstrate as an example, but a lot of the method would be the same. The idea is that if you're holding the thumb and the finger is holding the pick, you just really want to keep it so that you've got not too much pick, so you wouldn't hold it right out like at the end, and not too little pick, so it's just a little bit at the end. You want to have about halfway, have enough pick, but enough so that you're gripping it nice and firm with the thumb and finger. If you feel like you need to use an extra finger to support, some people use that. Absolutely fine. I just use it with the thumb and first finger. Whatever you prefer is okay. The idea then is to hold it so that it's equal to the strings. So we're going to keep it, but we're going to angle it at about 45 degrees. Just angle it out so that when we go across, we're going to almost like brush against. So if you imagine like brushing up and down a wall with a paintbrush, if you've done that, and the bristles are going up and down, you kind of want to do the same thing, because you want to glide over those strings, and if it's too flat against the strings, it catches and it's really hard, and some people get put off when they're using a pick because they've got too much pick and it's catching the strings. So if you've got it angled and you brush through, you get a nice sound. Same on the way up, you're going to angle it, you're just going to do it the opposite direction. So when we do our downstroke, we angle it so we brush the strings down, and then there's also the other thing is the arm, resting the arm on the body rather than having it floating, especially on a bigger acoustic guitar. So rest that there, and it anchors the arm, so the arm can just freely swing then. And then you want to swing through with that brush, and because your wrist is at a slight angle, when you get to the bottom, you're going to tilt the opposite way. So you're going to go down like this, and then you're going to tilt, and then go like this, and then it should be like a fluid motion. like I said, like the brush bristles. That's a good analogy, I guess. So the idea is that you just want to keep a nice fluid motion. You might find at first you'll be up like this, and then you'll turn and you go like that, because you'll be consciously thinking about turning your wrist and it's unfamiliar. So you go down, then you'll turn it, then you go up, then turn it, then you go down. That's okay to start with. You just gradually work yourself into a way where you're going down, and as you get through the bottom of the stroke, it, rather than it going down and then turning, it's as you get through the bottom of the stroke, it turns fluently into the angle that you need on the upstroke. So it just ends up that you're just doing this sort of motion, and what that will do is it means you'll just be brushing the strings more. It means you can actually play quite quick as well without the resistance. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's what we're going to do on that next example. We're going to play down and up strokes. So we're going to go down, up, down, up, and then we're going to keep that nice and even. If we were counting, that is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. What I'll do is I'll show you on this on the screen. I'll just put it above my head. So we've got our down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And you can see they're grouped. These are the values. These are eighth notes. These ones that we saw above for the down strum are quarter notes. This is like a rhythm reading chart. So you have one line because you've got no pitch on any notes. You just got one line to symbolise the line of music. You've got 4/4 to tell you there's 4 beats in the bar. And these are the 4 beats, quarter notes, or crotchets on these ones, quavers on the next one. So these are crotchets, and what you'll be looking at doing is playing 1, 2, 3, 4, and these will be known as quavers, but we're going to call these eighth notes because there's 8 in a bar, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and call them what you like as long as you know the value, how long these notes last is all that matters. So we've done our downstrokes. We know that's a fairly straightforward one, is down ups. If you're not used to those upstrokes, spend a lot of time with just getting that motion right. That's all you need to do, and then changing between chords. It's a lot harder just looking at a change between G and C, for example. Well, obviously we're focusing more on the right hand, so my left hand is a little bit off the edge of the screen. But we don't need to worry about the left hand technique, it's just the right hand technique. So you've got the G chord, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then switch to a C. We've got a gap at the moment, we've got a pause. And that's our down, up stroke. Now when we go to do the change in, like I said, it's more important that the rhythm is consistent. So you'd have to do this a little bit slower, so that when you go to do the change in, it's connected. So the strum is connected. That's really important. So if you're doing it quite quick, and then you're stopping and then changing, that's not as musical as doing it slower and connecting. So it's really way more important to get the connection, because as you get confident with it, you'll speed it up. But you'll be speeding it up in a way where the rhythm's still consistent. So spend time getting the down, the up, the down. If you're feeling quite fluent with that, and you're getting that right, and you could do it at a reasonable speed, not too fast, but just kind of a mid speed here, like, and go straight into the next chord, you're doing well. Because those upstrokes will add a lot more interest. So rather than every song being just a downstroke, we can now throw in some down ups on any one of these beats. So we could, for example, just play 1, we can play a down, 2, we could do a down up, we could do a down up on the 3, we could do a down on the 4, and just by mixing and match those 2 exercises there, straight away we'll create some interesting rhythms, and you'll be able to mimic songs that have lots of down and up strokes in them as well. So let's assume you've got that far and you're doing good. We'll go to the next one, but if you feel that you're not quite got that, pause video, work on that, maybe come back to it another day, and then go on to the next bit. But yeah, work on your down and up strokes and getting that nice smooth action. Okay, so we're going to look at the country rhythm to start with. So I chose country. Country kind of it kind of fits with folk, acoustic styles, country styles. country and western, but more like acoustic style, because it works really well with the open chords, and a lot of country music and folk styles of music use open chord sounds. When I was talking about open chords, talking about the G, C, D, E minor, A minor, these are notes that use the open strings as well as the fretted ones. When we talk about fretted chords, or ones that are not open, they're ones that where you don't hear any open strings, just in case you weren't sure what that meant. Okay, so we're on a G chord. We'll stick with a G chord and we'll do the country rhythm. And what we'll be looking at is playing 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Now really all it is the down strum from the 1 and the 2 and from the 8th note rhythm. So when we played the quarter note rhythm, we play 1, then 2 and here, and then we're playing a 3 and then a 4 and from there. So this rhythm here is going to be down, down, up, down, down, up, or 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Now when we normally play the downstrokes, you know that your hand goes over the strings, so it's always going down up anyway. When we play the down up, the only difference is turn of the wrist, because we now need to hit the strings. If you miss the strings, you don't need to turn your wrists, but you might find that as you're playing quicker and quicker, that will be a natural thing that you do. Your wrist will turn even when you miss the strings. But for the moment, just focus on getting a down, coming over the strings, then a down, up, and then trying to keep that like so it's consistent within the beat. So it'll be 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. So every time we add a new variable, it just takes a bit of time getting used to it and memorizing, getting the muscle memory working. So you want to spend a bit of time on the down, miss, down, up, down, miss, down, up. When I say miss, I'm missing the strings and I'm coming up. Now, if you find yourself turning your wrist, that's actually great. That doesn't matter. But if you find you're not turning your wrist on those miss drums, it doesn't matter either. You'll end up adjusting yourself as you go along. So don't get worried about that. Just worry more about getting the down up fluent and getting it in time. So 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Now that sounds quite folky and quite country. We'll play all the chords, but there's something I like doing, which is a little extra thing to add, which is the country bounce, which is just really where you hit the top string or the top 2 or 3 strings, just the bassy end of the chord, separately from the others. And sometimes in my ukulele I call it weak strong, where the first one I do weak and we do the next one strong, because we don't have as many strings and we don't have those bassy notes like we do in the guitar. But on the guitar you want to hit like the bass and then you hit all the chord. So, and in here it sounds like a bounce because you'll be going from soft to louder sound wise. And that sounds a lot more country. Between a G and a C. That will take a little bit of practice, because what you're looking at doing is limiting how much of the chord you hit. So if you've been practicing getting all of the chord, all of a sudden now you've got to hit less. But as you can hear, it does make it sound a little bit more stylistic to the country, and it does sound pretty cool. It's a good technique to learn. So you're going to hit the bass note and then hit all the chord on the down up, then the bass note, then all the chord, and then you're going to tie that together yet again in time. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. When you feel really confident with that rhythm, you can then apply it to your G, your C, your G, your D, or any of the chord progression. To just take it to a song that you've got, if you've got chords there, and follow those chords. So if it was something like G, C and D, Knock on Heaven's Door, that sort of thing, G, D and C. And that sounds pretty good with those chords. It makes it sound more interesting, a little bit different than just doing your just doing the down strums. But you can add as you go along these rhythms together. So you can do like a down strum, down up, country strum. So you can mix and match, and that's the great thing about rhythm, is once you've got a few under your belt and a couple of little techniques, there's so many combinations you can do that just with this sheet alone you can come up with some really good styles or interpretations of the way these rhythms can be played. So we're going to look at the next one, which is we call it eyelet strum or pop. In ukulele we call it eyelet strum because it's used a lot with the ukulele, and being Hawaiian and Hawaii is an island, obviously that's kind of nicknamed that. So you will hear this quite a lot, and that all it really refers to is a style of strumming or a particular strumming pattern, and it's used a lot in pop music on the guitar. So I've put those two together, those two words, just so that if you hear someone mention it, it's the same as this style of strumming for pop music. You also see that I've got a little bracket thing here. This is 3 ways of using a space. That's because we've got a rest now. So there's actually a strum, a beat that we're gonna miss the strings, but we're actually gonna rest on this one. A rest means you don't play or don't hear any sound. But to start with, what we're gonna do, the 3 ways, this is the first of the 3 ways, is we're gonna do a down, down, up, exactly like the country song. So 1, 2, and. But when we get to the 3rd beat, we're just not going to play anything. In fact, we're just going to miss a downstroke, and that is really difficult to do at start because you're so used to doing down on every note, especially if you've been doing down strums. All of a sudden you've got to miss a string. But this is another thing that's quite important to learn as soon as you can, missing and hitting the strings but keeping your arm moving, because it's what will enable you to create lots of interesting rhythms. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first half of the rhythm. In fact, let me show you what that sounds like, the whole rhythm anyway, so you can hear where we're going to go with this. And what makes it really interesting or quite a user-friendly one for playing lots of pop songs is the fact that we've got down, down, up, rest, and then we're playing just 8th note. So we're actually playing this end and resting the 3rd beat. So we're taking the 3rd beat, we're resting it, we're playing these together on the and, forehand, and we're taking the 1st bit of the country. So we're combining quite a lot in one bar, and because it's changing throughout that bar, that makes it sound really interesting, and that's why it's quite a good one to use. So let's look at that. Broken up into 2 halves. So the first half would be down, down, up. Down, down, up. Now what I'm going to do is on the 3rd beat now, this is where it gets really crucial, is you're going to go down, down, up, miss. Yeah, so you count the 3rd beat, but you want to miss the strum, and you want to make it as though you're going to hit the strings. You're going to strum like a normal strumming, normal down strum, but you're going to actually not play any of the strings. Down, down, up, miss the strings. Really make an effort to do that, because when people first start doing this, they freeze their hand there, and then they suddenly move down quick. So it'll be like down, down, up, down, up, and then it doesn't sound at all right. And if you find yourself doing that, don't worry, it's perfectly normal, because you got to get your head round the mechanics of it. So this is really what you've got to do. You've got to go down, down, up, and then force your hand to come down to miss. And if you can count 3, like so 1, 2, and 3. So that you're making a real effort to get your hand, and you keep doing that over and over. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Keep doing that over and over so that you're missing the strings on that 3rd beat until you feel really comfortable with it. And that's when you can then play the next bit, because the down strum is really important, because you're going to play an up, down, up next. You can see an and, forehand. So we've got our goalposts here, which are our downstrokes, and our V, which are our upstrokes, if I haven't mentioned that before, sorry. So you got your down, ups, and here we got our down, up. So here we got up, down, up. And that's what you got to play next. You got to play an up, down, up. So you're going to play 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So you're going to go 1, 2, and 1, 2, and miss the strings. And then we're going to play the last bit, which is up, down, up. So it doesn't matter if you put space between that and the gap that's at 3 is a lot longer, so you get your head round it. But one way you can practice it is just in those 2 halves. So you can do the 1, 2 and miss, and then the next part is you're going to play just a space, 3 and 4. And so I'm counting the 3, but my hand is in the position ready for the upstroke, so it's down below the strings. 3 and 4 and so because it's not a normal thing to start in an upstroke, that will feel weird, but if you do it enough times it will feel normal and it'll be okay. So 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4, 3 and 4 and... Do it really, really slow. You might want to go 3 and 4 and do that over and over and over. But once you've got that and it starts to make sense, you'll be able to join the 2 up. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and that's what you want to do. Is you want to kind of really slowly go through, and the problem area will be the 3 missing the strings on the down and then starting on that up strum. So focus on those 2 things are key. 1, 2 and 3, and then focus on the last bit, 3 and 4 and put it together. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's what that rhythm is, how it should sound, and how to piece it together. There's so many different combinations you can do with the downs, the down and ups, and these last 2, the pop one and the island, I've just shown you a couple of the things that you can do with those combinations, but there's obviously others you can do, others that you can put together yourself as you're going along, and to experiment with it is a really good thing. So do that as you feel comfortable with these rhythms. See if you can rearrange them where you're playing the strokes. As long as you're playing it nice and even and you're counting or staying within the count of the 4, it should sound pretty musical. So the other thing is the 3rd beat being rested. So the idea would be that the first one we did is we just let it ring out. Down, down, up. Chords ringing, up, down, up. So we're going to play that again. We've got down, down, up, ringing. But we can just rest it by touching the string. So down, down, up. And all I'm doing is I'm using the wrist, I'm touching the strings. The important thing is that when I do that the pick is underneath the strings. So it's like I'm still doing a downstroke, but instead of coming down and missing the strings, I'm coming down on the strings and the pick is underneath. And that creates a rest note, which makes it even more interesting, the fact that we've got a stop in the music as well. And some rhythms are quite defined where you want those rests. Sometimes it doesn't matter, you can just let it die out or ring over. And it doesn't really matter to start with, it's more the technique and the motion. But it just makes it a little bit more interesting when you can mix up and put some rests in there as well. And all you're doing with the rest notes, this is what that little squiggle is, if you wasn't sure, put it on the rest note. So this is what we're doing at the moment. So we're looking at just touching the strings. And the other thing you can do is with a rest note is you could make it a percussive sound. So this is the 3rd way of using that space, and this is where we tap either the body or the strings in that space. So 1, 2, so I'm tapping it there, creating a rhythmic or a percussive sound, and that sounds quite interesting. So 1, 2. So experiment with that, but experiment also with like just trying to stop the sound as well. And it's really just touching the strings, but the pick being always in a position where if you're touching it on a downstroke especially, that you need that upstroke to be in the right position. That's really at the end of really what you want to do, because just getting those arm movements right is enough. And these little things I've just shown you are things you can always come back to later if you feel that you haven't quite got. So be honest with yourself. If you feel like you're struggling just getting the down ups even, just work on those first 2 exercises. Get the technique right till it feels natural. When you feel like you can do that and combine it with the downs and the country, we can also then do the bass. We can alternate and play the bass. And that makes it sound like me. If you feel that's coming along swimmingly, then on the island pop strum, we've now got that combination, which is a little bit more interesting because we're playing a kind of a different thing on every beat really. We've got our 1, 2 and then we're resting, and then we're playing an and 4 and, so we're kind of making it interesting throughout the bar there. And if you feel like you're getting that, see if you can use these rest or the spaces in a more interesting way by either tapping the strings or just touching the strings to stop them always ringing out. That's not important at the moment, but if you feel like you're getting more advanced and you feel like that's something you'd like to tackle, you can do it. Let's have a look at this rhythm. Now I know this rhythm is used a lot, and this rhythm always reminds me of, especially on a G chord, of Brown Eyed Girl, which is G, C, D, C. And so I'm going to just play that rhythm just the normal way. I won't do any rest. I'll just show you the strumming with Brown Eyed Girl, G, C, D, C. So there you go. It's obviously a little bit quicker, the song. But it gives you a good example of a song that uses that rhythm, or that song would definitely work really well with that rhythm. You'll probably find there's a few other little things, like there's a bit in the song where he's just doing down and up strums, and it varies a little bit. So a lot of songs will do that, but you can use that as the basis of the style, the pop style, and you can apply that to any chord progression you want to. And obviously when we talk about chord progressions, we're just about joining the chords together. So the trick is that if you're already getting the down strums and you're changing quite comfortably between those, now we're looking at making rhythms more interesting, and that will make it a little bit more complex for the changing, because you'll have a little bit less space when there's the quicker rhythms and when you're filling in the gaps. But that's the next step. Anyway, I hope that helps.